new podcast presented by SEC Sidelines and GatorBaitMedia.com. I'm your host, Loren Meadows, and tonight we'll be joined by the legend, Buddy Martin, Rob Brown of SEC Sidelines, Zach Goodall of Swamp 247, and Florida great Ernest Graham will join us as well to talk about his new role as head coach of Santa Fe High School here in Alachua County. All that and more with the Lowdown with Loren Meadows. And with that, we bring in the man, the myth, the legend. Happy birthday, Buddy Martin, 25 years young, still looking good, looking vibrant, and got all his goods on, looking sharp. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, and it's been a good day. Like I said, except when I got waked up at 3 o'clock this morning by our local alarm system. It kicked us out of our apartment. Beyond that, it's been a great day. Heard from a lot of great friends and family today, and just feel really blessed to be here today. My wife and I had a really nice dinner, and so, hey, it's a good day. And I'm excited for you because this is what we've been talking about for years, and here you are, buddy. Got your own show. Look at you, big time.
Well, no, I just, I want to thank you and just everybody in the GatorBait Media family, SEC Sidelines, but most importantly, you and Brendan for making this happen. And you guys brought it to me. You kind of saw this vision a long time ago, and we'll continue to bring the great Gator coverage, among other things. We're going to talk a little pop culture, bring on some different guests, but obviously, from time to time, we'll still bring in the man, Buddy Martin. And, Buddy, before you go, I want to really hone in on something you brought up last night that I think is going to be really good going forward is with the basketball team winning the national title, just some plans that are in the works with GatorBait and to celebrate that great team.
Yeah, I want to do that. I want to mention the Derby because that's one of my favorite events of the year. We got a friend who's got a horse at the Derby, man. That's a dream right there.
Yeah, Joe Calorio, Titan MRI.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that just a little bit. Yeah. So first of all, I want to talk about you because you have emerged as a really, really professional at a high level. They see you hosting Shane's show. You're bouncing around. You've learned all this. I don't think you even thought you were capable of this, and you've been fantastic. And I'm happily passing. Don't hand me that torch over here, will you? Here's a torch. I'm passing you this torch right now for the Tuesday night version of what used to be the Buddy Martin Show. Now the Lowdown. Hello, the low man. And thank you, David Baldoff. With Loren Meadows, who'll be with you every Tuesday night with many good guests. Occasionally, he'll let me be on with him and whatever. And so I'm thrilled to death to have you doing this. And congratulations on all you've done, what you've accomplished, Loren.
Oh, well, appreciate it, buddy. And like I said, I couldn't have done it without you and your mentorship and the opportunities that you have afforded me, and just everything has been great. But hopefully I can continue to keep things rocking and rolling on Tuesday nights. And you are welcome anytime. Anytime you get a burr, you want to rap about something, bring it on, definitely. Because from what you've done just in the years that we've known each other to bring social consciousness to life and a lot of other different things, I think is real important. And, before you go ahead and talk about, I know you're really excited about the Derby, and go ahead and talk about the people at Titan MRI, Joe Calorio, and this great horse that they have that might bring home the roses.
Well, first of all, you couldn't have done without Marcia. Let's get that straight.
Well, yeah, that's true.
We know who wears the pants at your house. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but no, that's great. And no, I'm excited for Joe. I just found out today, Joe, you have Sandman. You're one of the owners of Sandman. I understand you're a local show. We got to get him on. And maybe maybe he'll win. He's one of the top horses. Sandman is running in the Derby Saturday. One of my very favorite events. I've covered it about 10 or 12 times. I love it. I'll be watching on Saturday. I always got to have a horse. I start with names, and then I start reading about these horses. And I got 3 horses I love by the name. How can I not love these? 5, 8, and 13. And 2 of those are numbers my family likes to play a lot anyway. And 5 is American Promise. Okay, get that in mind. 8 is journalism.
Wow.
Okay. 13 is publisher. 13 is publisher. So I'm playing that exacta 5, 8, 13 American Promise Journalism and Publisher. And then, of course, Sandman is the 17 horse. That's the one that Mr. Colorio has a piece of, wishing him the best. And the late Toby Keith has a horse called Render Judgment, which is, but it was always a dream of his. And he's number 15, which we know in Florida football, that's a legendary number. So, and finally, Shane's he likes to play the number 9 anytime because that was his number.
Yeah, I do too. That was mine too. So,
yeah, well, Burnham Square. And I went to look it up, see where is Burnham Square. I guess it's in Columbus. So, so Burnham Square is 9. So that's what we're going to be doing. We'll certainly be doing that on Bruton Home. Go get me a horse. You got anybody in mind you going to play?
I do not. Sandman, I'm gonna take a look at Sandman and see if I can jump on that. I don't know where was Sandman raised? Is he Ocala horse or is
no? I don't have their bloodline. So
okay, yeah, I had to look. I like the bloodlines. That's what I like
I
to
don't
see.
get those until later in the week. So
okay, so yeah, we'll. But I'm gonna say the early favorite either be the 9 horse or Sandman for me. So
yeah, journalism was one of them. By the way, and the Sandman horse did train in Ocala. A lot of these horses train here. So good luck. Hope you get your horse. Hope you enjoy it. And Loren, all the best to you. Great job by you. You got some great guests as always. Looking forward to Tuesday nights getting to watch you, my man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, buddy, man. Thanks for everything. Enjoy your birthday. You looking great for 30, man. I mean, I hope I can look as good as you when I turn 30 for sure.
Yeah, I haven't seen 30 in quite a while, but I'm just glad to be up and about at my old age and happily married, and also having great friends and associates like you, and then my son Brendan does a great job here, I got to say. So
absolutely, our great executive producer Brendan Martin. But appreciate it, buddy, and I appreciate the passing of the torch, man. It means a lot, and we'll continue to keep this thing moving.
Hold that baby tight.
All right, man.
All right, thanks.
Thanks a lot. And with that, we'll bring in Rob Brown of SEC Sidelines. There it is. Happy birthday, Buddy Martin. And Rob should be joining us soon. Rob Brown of SEC Sideline. How you doing, Rob?
Doing well,
Buddy. What you think of that? How you like that emblem? We got a happy birthday for Buddy and a new logo.
Love it. I'm sitting there looking at it right now. I like those colors. That's good. And happy birthday. But I didn't know. Brendan didn't even tell me this morning on the show. I didn't know.
People play it cool, man, on their birthdays. You want to make sure that they, want everybody to know.
Never complain you're having a birthday. I mean, people go, I'm like, hey, man, if you're 87 or 90 or 95, that means you're 95% of the way to your goal of making it to 100.
Right.
And, Buddy is amazing. That's because he's got a sense of purpose. Every morning he gets up, he's got deadlines to meet. He's got things to do. I think that's the key to happiness. And, he gets happier the more he does this stuff. I love it. It's cool.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Absolutely, man. I mean, appreciate it. And when want to send a shout out to you as well. Just making things happen, man. We got a lot going on with this family, SEC Sidelines, GatorBait Media, and all the things we're going. In the news, Florida gets a big pickup with Brendan Bett, 6'5", 300 pounds, 3 years of eligibility, redshirted in 2024 and 2023, 10 games with 1 start, 9 tackles, 3 solos. He was graded out at Pro Football Focus as the 4th rated interior defensive lineman. So a big get for the Gators. If there was one question mark there, it was basically maybe up front, the interior. I think the edge rusher guys are there with Sapp and McCray and some of those guys, but big pickup for the Gators. And then in the draft, the Gators get 7 drafted. Kind of surprising though, Rob. Montrell Johnson Jr. went undrafted, as well as Elijah Badger. And if you remember, Badger had a big game, couple games against LSU and Ole Miss. Were you surprised by, they got 7, Crawshaw and Shamar James and Chimerdike, who was the highest drafted receiver, went to Tennessee Titans. But were you surprised that guys like Montrell Johnson and Elijah Badger, who I was told by scouts was maybe a starter in the league at some point when undrafted.
I'm not at all. And I mean, just like I wasn't surprised Shedeur Sanders went in the 5th round. I'm sure there's coaches out there saying he's been coached by daddy his whole life. Is he coachable? And then you look at Quinn Ewers. I think he was in love with being the Texas quarterback. There's just guys that are NFL ready, and there's guys that are going to be projects. So Montrell Johnson is not a surprise at all because he's a good running back. But if you're not injury free during your college career, I think that raises question marks, and it's just not life. Life isn't fair, But I think more and more running backs are begging coaches for fewer carries. Remember, they used to give me the ball every play, 35, 40 carries a game. Not that way now. If you carry 12 times a game, you think you've done a lot.
Yeah.
But trust me, everyone's rushing records are going to be safe for a long time. Emmitt Smith.
Well, yeah, and Trikweze Bridges was drafted by the Los Angeles Chargers. So quite a few guys that for the Florida Gators that were drafted. I think Bridges is a nice player, can play safety as well as corner. Crawshaw was drafted. I will say with Badger, and it's funny, sometimes it can be a gift and a curse, but you look at a team, he got picked up as an undrafted free agent by the Kansas City Chiefs. And Rob, the Kansas City Chiefs have struggled with production on the outside the last couple of years, had some drops, some big drops that have cost them. Obviously, they need to shore up that offensive line. But a guy like Badger can get into camp, has been in a couple systems, which I think helps you sometime when you've been in a couple systems. And then to be able to catch passes from Patrick Mahomes, he could actually find his way, I think, into a rotation in this roster.
Well, but Kansas City is the standard, and they have been for a while. And Mahomes is, 8 years in? So, yes, I agree with you. And Florida had, 6 guys drafted, 6 or 7? And it kind of goes in parallels with number 9 on the blue chip index of 4 and 5 star players on that roster every 4-year cycle. I think that Florida closed stronger in recruiting in this last class than about anybody in the country. That push that they made at the end, and now, I mean, this question will be asked every day: the health of DJ Lagway. So you got to think about it. But I know we've got guests. I'm seeing the thing.
Oh, yeah, no worries. We're going to be joined by Zach Goodall as well. Go ahead and bring Zach in. And by phone, we'll be joined by the new coach of the Santa Fe high school there in Alachua County, Ernest Graham, Florida great. I could run down all the accolades, Ernest. We go with 2000 and 1997, Mr. Football in the state of Florida, one of the 100 greatest players in Florida high school football, a very decorated career, all SEC freshman team in 1999. But most importantly, the new head coach of Santa Fe High School in Alachua County. How you doing, Ernest?
I'm doing good, man. How y'all fellas doing today?
Doing good, man. I want to talk to you because, you've been in coaching a while, and obviously we know your stint with, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, played multiple years in the NFL. But I think what you've done as a coach, and when you look at, taking over a program in Santa Fe that's kind of in a rebuild, you went through a rebuild at North Fort Myers High School. I think you're early in your career. And we talked about it a little bit, but just tell the people, they know about you as a player, but what made you want to get back into coaching and take on a job like at a school like Santa Fe?
I've had, like you said before, I've had a similar experience. When I first took my first job at North Fort Myers High School, I didn't know I wanted to coach.
I think we lost you a little bit. Hey, Ernest, I think we're losing you on the feed. Yeah, Yeah, unfortunately, I think we lost him a little bit. Might be able to get him back. How you doing, Zach?
I'm doing great. I was gonna say, man, I'm on here with Loren, Rob, and Ernest. I don't know why I'm here.
No
Superstar
doubt.
crowd.
Yeah, you welcome to the Lowdown with Loren Meadows. Go do some things, not different, but just work it a little different. You back, Ernest?
I'm here.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, we lost you a little bit. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so my first job at North Fort Myers High School, I took that job and I didn't know what I was getting into, leading young men at that age. You have young men everywhere from 14 to 18 years old, and it was a lot. We ended up being successful and obviously turning that program around. That came with, first of all, being at a great school like North Fort Myers High School at the time, getting kids in the weight room, making them accountable to each other. And just overall, just building a culture of, selflessness and a culture that tackled well and a culture that desired to run the ball and be physical in the way you need to be, out on the football field. I think it's the same here. Every job I've ever had was, either a rebuild or a program that wanted to be more competitive. And, here I find it's the same elements. We have a program that's from a proud community that has had success and wants to get back, to not only winning, but the type of culture and the type of teamwork that goes with, good football programs. We have a lot of young men who are starving to have the experience, that a lot of really good programs have. And, those elements are, built on, first of all, showing up, coming in with a certain type of attitude that produces a certain type of effort. It starts in the weight room, and then it starts with being physical out on the football field, So, it's the small things we talk about all the time that, that make the big things. And, kids in the program are showing up right now. And if they continue to do that, we'll have positive results.
So we like to talk a little X and O's here on the Lowdown a little bit. What are we looking for offensively? There you go. What are we looking for offensively, defensively? What's your philosophy as far as we like to talk a little X and O's, a little thump and dump?
Right.
So what are we going to spread it out? What are we who, and even, who, if you want to talk about who some of your influences are when you're building your team, both offensively and defensively?
Yeah, definitely. We're, like most teams, we're kind of in that power spread, area, running some 11, personnel, some pro style concepts as well as, kind of some air raid concepts. I'm a West Coast disciple. So, obviously playing with, Coach Gruden down in Tampa, being a hybrid fullback, tailback, so, being able to throw the ball and get the ball out on some high percentage concepts, running the ball, stretching the field horizontally and, and attacking vertically. Obviously I came from that, that pound the rock mentality, play great defense, play great special teams and impose your will, obviously, on the other team. So we have a little bit of mix, obviously we're at a small school, so it's a 2A program. So you got to know how to, get the most out of your talent, obviously. We have a lot of kids that go both ways. So we do desire to shorten the game, run the ball well, and be physical. And I think that's what, I've been around a couple of times when I first came in, I wanted to sling it around and do all those things. But then you kind of realize, man, the kids need the fundamentals.
Right.
They're looking to play this game, to play in a way that, they haven't really thought. And I really do believe, being able, to run the ball, like I said, tackle well and play physically is what people want to see. And it's fun at this level. And not a lot of teams are practicing against that. Most teams now are, practicing against the spread. So most teams are ready for that. But when you come out and you play physically in this day and age, you're going to have a lot of success.
Rob, I know you followed the SEC for quite some time, and you know this gentleman here. He was quite the physical running back himself, coming up back in the day. And, definitely, I've talked to Ernest a little bit. And, I think it's nice to see guys giving back to the game. Wouldn't you say, Rob?
Hell, absolutely. And I was going to say, Ernest, I'm just in the interest of full disclosure. I'm an Auburn grad. You broke our hearts a lot when we played you. You're from Naples. I remember that. And I'm going to tell you this. This sounds crazy. Steve Spurrier, he left after the 0-1 season. I can name
Right.
more running backs from Florida during the Spurrier era than I can wide receivers. There was
Why?
Eric Rhett from Pembroke Pines, Florida. There was Fred Taylor from Belglade, Florida, and you
Yep.
from Naples. I think of those three. And as y'all began to run the ball better, it was like walking the Green Mile to play Florida. It was very tough to play you because you started eating up clock. But man, I remember your career, and just talking to you, man, just gets me fired up because you were playing right when I was having my first, my second, and my third kids. Those were
Awesome, man.
great times. I kind of don't remember some of it, but you're one of the most positive people. Remember you at Tampa, but you're one of those people, like my fortune said at Panda Garden last night. Optimists believe we're living in the best of times. Pessimists fear that's true. I would love to have my son play for a coach like you. So it's an honor to talk to you.
Thank you, brother. I mean, I always, go back to, the way I was raised and, not only, the way my mom raised me, but, what a lot of my former teachers and my former, coaches, taught me. I tell people all the time, my first teaching job was, in 6th grade with my 5th grade teacher. Was teaching night school, to Haitian immigrants trying to, learn the English language. She left the classroom and left me in the room one day to teach the class. And ever since then, I've been in love with teaching, So I think to be a good football coach, you have to be a really good teacher. You have to be patient. You have to install, processes, that allow, for different type of learners to be able to learn the game. And ultimately, when these kids look to you, man, you have to have credibility. And there's a lot of high school football, with young boys at this age, especially with, the kind of kids who haven't had great experiences, and the programs have been down, and not a lot is going on in the community. You have to wear them down, man. And, you kind of wear them down by just showing up every day, continually giving them a consistent message. And sooner or later, man, those kids turn around and they'll give you the shirt off their back, man. So, I'm really fortunate to have great people in my life. I always felt like I've never coached a team that didn't play hard. Yeah. But I think it's, like you said, I think it's because I really do believe in those core principles, man. I believe when you're showing up for people, when your message is consistent, when you model the type of things that, go with, what make this such a great game, kids fall in line, man. And they
He
lost him again. Yeah, but
man, this guy's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you could talk to. I was going to bring you in, Zach, to kind of make him feel good. Just talk about, that you've seen his son's development, and I was going to ask him who's the best football player in the family, but no, I mean, just speak to, and I'm sure you've had some conversations with Ernest dealing with Miles, but just speak to that family and maybe what Ernest has put into Miles that maybe makes Miles what some people think could be one of the next great linebackers at Florida.
Yeah, I've gotten to meet them a couple times. I probably don't want to speak entirely to it just because I don't know them super well, especially with my time away this past season when Miles stepped onto the field for the first time for Florida. But I think it kind of shined through what you guys are talking about, right? I mean, you obviously can point to Miles' ability to step in and play the way he did as a freshman, but I feel as though from the people I talked to, he's one of the more respected players on this roster already. And I think that was evident even in his freshman season. And it goes beyond the fact that his dad played for Florida. I think that he just commands respect of his teammates really across the board. And people have nothing but good things to say about him and the example that he sets, whether it's on the field, in practice, in the weight room, in meetings, and really the whole 9 yards. He doesn't operate like a freshman. And again, I do think that I'm sure some of that comes from the pride that comes with being a Gator legacy, right? Like he steps onto campus and everyone already knows who he is because it's in his blood. And I don't think he takes that lightly. But it's something that I'm sure he's picked up from his father as well. And being in a football family, having a teacher and coach as a father too. I mean, he's been put on the right path, obviously. And I think that that's what makes Miles, in addition to his football skill set, one of the more exciting players on this team.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think, if you look at just, talking to Ernest and just what he brings to the table, and, I wanted to, me being a former coach, you want to shine light on the work that people are doing. And, you know, I'm a big fan of all coaches, but particularly high school guys, a guy like Sir Ernest Graham, who could have stepped away and said, hey, I'm gonna just go watch my boy, but now is committed to turning over every Friday night and really getting after it with a team in Santa Fe who, you know, has a lot of tradition, has played for state titles, won state titles. Mike Peterson, his brother Adrian Peterson, you know, they won a state title. I don't know if you remember Adrian Peterson at Georgia Southern. Rob, that was Mike Peterson's brother, and that's at Florida now. I mean, just the, you know, having that where it's a town and, you know, there's still a community there in Alachua that embraces that school. And I think they just need maybe the right guy to come in and really settle it in. And I think Ernest is that guy. So, you know, shout out to Ernest Graham. I know he's trying to come back, but I'm going to just tell him, you know, appreciate him coming on, and we'll get him on more. But, you know, Zach, welcome to the Lowdown with Loren Meadows, man. I appreciate you coming on, and we're going to do some. Oh, there he is again. What's up?
Man, I'm sorry about that.
Oh no, man, that's all right, man. We're gonna let you go, but before we let you go,
I appreciate you, fellas.
yeah, no, but one thing I do want to ask you, like I said, I told you I don't want to put you in a bad spot because you are the parent of a Florida Gator, and but I want to ask you, and this is something I've been wanting to ask you, and I think we may have talked about it maybe last year before Miles signed, but just being a Florida guy and having a son that has the ability to play at a high level, and Florida was not the only school that offered him. You know, take us, if you don't mind, what are those discussions like sometime? Because we've seen other guys whose kids, you know, they played at Florida, but the young men went elsewhere. Was there a discussion, or was that always like, Dad, I'm gonna follow in your footsteps and I'm going to Florida? Or what was the process, you know, with getting him to dial in and say, hey, I want to be a Florida Gator?
Yeah, you know, I wanted him to, you know, really be serious about, you know, the process, you know, overall. You know, we made sure as parents, you know, that we didn't say, hey, you know, this is what you're going to do. I mean, we really did not push Florida at all. I mean, naturally, you know, going to the games, you know, being very active, you know, around the University of Florida, naturally that impressed upon him. But when we got into the process, you know, we made sure that we were very hands off, and we wanted to give him, you know, a full understanding of what was out there, you know, in this country. You know, there's some great programs, you know, obviously all over the place. There's some great coaches and some, you know, great schools you can play for. None better than University of Florida, but other, you know, there's some great ones out there. You know, so, you know, we were really hands off. I'm telling you, he kept maintaining that he wanted to be, you know, at the University of Florida. You know, his heart, you know, wasn't, you know, anywhere else. And yes, he definitely did want to, you know, continue his dad's legacy and continue the connection with the University of Florida. Now, I always have to tell everybody, our daughter kicked it off. She's a senior now at the University of Florida.
Okay.
You know, who got in, you know, obviously based on the academics. So she was already here, you know, at the school. And, you know, as we know, I mean, that's an amazing feat, you know, to get into the, you know, the University of Florida. So, you know, she had already kickstarted it. And, you know, Miles was really dead set on, you know, continuing that. You know, now, there were some teams that he was definitely considering, you know, down to the end. You know, some amazing coaches who are, you know, were really, you know, pursuing him because, you know, he's not only a phenomenal player, but a phenomenal kid. But at the end of the day, you know, we didn't really want any fluff really in the process, you know what I mean, so to speak. You got all these kids that come out, you know, they're top 12, top 15, top 8. And, you know, our thing was like, hey, son, man, if you're in love with the school, be someone who's decisive, you know, really stand in that space. You know, this is at a time where, you know, University of Florida is, you know, really looking to turn things around. You know, you should be someone who wants to be at the forefront and really, you know, jump into public space about your love and your connection to the University of Florida. And he took that seriously. So he committed early. You know, he got out, you know, he helped recruit. And, you know, it was a special experience to be able to see him. I didn't have a father around. Me and my wife, you know, we didn't have, you know, our fathers around. And to see him go out and want to, you know, to step into that, you know, it was really a special experience for us. So he had a lot of a lot of people pursuing him, but it was always the University of Florida.
Yeah. And before I let you go, I'll do what I always ask guys that we always say it, but is there any talk about who's going to end up being the better player in Florida? Have we started that discussion yet, or is it still a little early?
Yeah, we all, everybody always talks about who would win on the goal line, when I run them home, vice versa. I tell him I'm 5'9", he's a little tall. I got the leverage advantage, so I would definitely get it done. He's a better athlete, I feel like, man. Not only a better athlete, but he's in a better frame. He's 6'1", and he's long, he's rangy, he runs, very well, man. And so he's already got me there. So I give it to him. As dads, we always want our kids, all of us, we want our kids to be better than we were. And I tell you what, man, he's well-rounded. He's also in the sport at a time where, you can connect to more. We know obviously with NIL and all these different things, during our time, there was things we couldn't get, do. We couldn't meet, prominent people out in the community. We couldn't meet boosters and all those things. And, he's the guy that's really, expanding his territory in life, man. So he's connected to everything, Florida Gators, everything from football, out in the community, in the classroom and all those things, man. So that guy, man, he is living he's living the dream now.
That's good, man. I appreciate it, man. Well, we appreciate you having you on, man. We definitely,
no problem.
Who we open up with in the fall? Who we got first game?
Our first game is with St. Pete Christian.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, there he is, Florida great. Santa Fe head coach Ernest Graham. Appreciate you coming on, my man.
All right,
sorry about the technical difficulties, but appreciate you sticking through it.
But by the way, can I tell you this morning? Ask Brendan. It was like flying through a thunderstorm at 30,000 feet. Global internet issues. So that's interesting. He's 5'9", kid's 6'1".
Yeah.
I mean, Zach, you've seen him playing out there. I'd like to hear from him during football season about the high school. The competition. I mean, I know Texas has more players, but it's a little bit bigger state. But Florida, I think, puts out more impact players. And I say that because the track and field programs in the state of Florida are so good. And this is what I've always thought was the secret. I remember 45 years ago, a player from Pensacola named Chuck Clanton, they were talking about his speed, why he was so good. And he said, when you run on the beach, you just develop muscles that most people never work out. And the state of Florida, the weather, I look forward to the next time we get to talk to him. And Zach, you do get to see these guys out there every day. So it's the state, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. And Zach, we know what, everybody's expecting from guys like Miles and Aaron Childs and others, in that linebacker core. But what do you think about the pickup with Bet out of Baylor? I think one of the concerns we would all agree were maybe what Florida was going to be able to do. Obviously, losing Cam Jackson, be able to replace, some of the girth up the middle. Jamari Lyons comes back from the broken leg. But, what can a guy like Bet mean for this defense going forward?
Yeah, I mean, going into the spring transfer window, I viewed the interior defensive line and safety, or I guess safety / nickel corner, as the team's clear, far and away biggest needs. If they needed to address anything before the 2025 season, it was to get some players who could come in and contribute immediately there, even if it's maybe not necessarily as a starter, but someone that can come in, take rotational reps, kind of be a stopgap type of player as some of the younger talent develops. Because I mean, you look at the interior defensive line for one, right? It's headlined by Caleb Banks, great player, chose to come back over going to the NFL draft. So that, you think that makes it a very strong room, but your next best option on the interior is Jamari Lyons. And I'm someone that's really high on Jamari Lyons and have been since he was a high school recruit. But at the end of the day, he's a 300-pound nose tackle coming off a broken ankle. So you got a lot that you're concerned about there. He goes down or Caleb Banks goes down, like we saw throughout the spring. He was unavailable. You're putting out guys like DeAndre Robinson, Mekhi Barrow, promising players going into their sophomore year, but I think both of them had fewer than 150 snaps last year. Behind them were a bunch of true freshmen. So you saw that there were some issues there. And obviously Robinson going to North Carolina last week just made that a bigger issue. But Florida was able to turn around pretty quickly, especially after Robinson left, and identify Bet. I believe he entered the portal on I want to say Thursday, and then by Friday it was determined he was coming to take a visit. So they moved very quickly there. He was a player that only played one game last year and ended up redshirting the season due to things that have been kind of all over social media. And I believe his parents ended up commenting on it, but for lack of understanding as to the full details, I won't get into particularly what's rumored there. But at the end of the day, he didn't play last year. They're going off freshman year film when he came in as, I want to say, a 3-star recruit, yet as a 6'4" to 5", 300 some pound player. He played in almost every game, and he made some plays in the backfield. He appeared promising, and the word was now that he was getting ready to play this season in spring camp, especially at Baylor, that things were clicking again, and he was looking as though he would be an impact player on the Bears front. So for Florida to be able to go and get that kind of player, and again, they're not going to ask him to start. I believe they've got their 2 starters. And then you look at Mekhi Barrow behind Jamari Lyons as someone they're high on, and that I would assume will play even more this year. But that's someone that could step into a rotational role. Absolutely. I think especially at 3 technique with where DeAndre Robinson was supposed to slot in behind Caleb Banks. And they've got him for a couple of years now, especially with the red shirt last year. They should have Bet for 3 more seasons if he's just sticking Florida through the entire time, barring an absolute breakthrough where he, I guess, could declare for the NFL draft early, which would be great, I think, for all parties involved. But one way or another, yeah, it's a stopgap option to fill out the problem that they had being a need on the interior defensive line. And at the same time, someone with a lot of potential who could be here for the long run.
All right. No doubt. And before we kind of change subjects, I want to talk about Meldon Law, our sponsor, still sticking with the Lowdown with Loren Meadows. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Meldon Law, we won't back down. Doing a lot of good things in the community, very connected to the Gainesville community as well as the University of Florida. You scan that QR code, it'll take you right to the website. They can help you with all of your law needs. They specialize in injury law and other issues, but if you need something, they can point you in the right direction to someone who can help you with all your legal needs. Meldon Law, we won't back down. Zach, Rob, DJ, are we off DJ Lagway watch now? His dad came out and said that he's throwing. He's good to go, throwing with his trainer in Jacksonville, 45 to 80 throws a day. Can we put it to bed and at least give Billy Napier some credit that if there's anything he handled, I really want to keep saying this because I think I can be very hard on him, and you know it, Zach, but I think he's handled this up front. And I think I think the transparency went a long way for him in this spring. While everybody was trying to conjure up things, Rob, I think his transparency, helped kind of shed light and even helped DJ Lagway just be able to get through spring and get to the point where now he's throwing again.
Well, I mean, remember a week ago Friday, we had Roman Harper on in the morning and Dr. James Andrews. And Dr. Andrews was at an injury sports medicine conference out in Dallas. And I think he said he sat next to Florida's team doctor at dinner. And Dr. Andrews was quick to say he didn't say a word. And I wasn't going to ask him because having been the team doctor for Auburn and Alabama, how many people you think came up to him and said, "Hey, doc"? But DJ Lagway, you think about what he did last year. He did play hurt a lot. And there's 2 kinds of people in this world. There's people that hit a speed bump and just, well, that's it. And there's people that go over the speed bump and, at a decent speed. Lagway made Florida better. I mean, and I think he's one of the most watched players in the country right now. So as he works out and does what he's doing, you just got to trust those doctors and trainers because if he's doing his rehab, I got no doubt he starts and leads Florida. I said, I got to pick to win 10. I just would say, though, how deep is the quarterback room, Zach and Loren? But really, who has Texas had last year? Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning. That's a unicorn situation.
Yeah, that's rare. Yeah,
I mean,
no doubt.
You're talking unicorn status.
Right. Well, I think it's important, Zach, and everybody talked about the spring and getting the timing. Well, the spring a lot of times now has become kind of an infirmary type of time where guys aren't getting healthy.
Yeah.
So, for instance, even if Lagway would have been able to practice full speed, Eugene Wilson was limited. You know, you're going to have nicks, and where I tell people, and as a former receiver, where you make your bones with your quarterback is in those late night throwing sessions, those 12 noon throwing sessions that happen at this time of year in the summer, that kind of thing. So I think it's important. The fact that Lagway is able to throw now is more important than having him in the spring for spring jamboree. Or, you know, you and I both were sitting there writing our articles laughing how vanilla the spring game was. But now you got DJ Lagway back. And like Rob said, speak to what you saw from what I thought was an improved backup component at the quarterback position as well.
Yeah, looking back on it now in hindsight, pertaining to how DJ's situation was handled, it does seem like it was best case scenario. Now, the pessimist in me wants to see him throw. Other than like we saw the clips, I would like to see it a couple times, but that's me nitpicking. Whatever. I don't need it. But yeah, I mean, the fact that he's able to get out there, throw the ball in this clip, like it looks good. He's throwing with power. It doesn't look like his throwing motion's awkward in any way. He looks like he's healthy. And that's, again, best case scenario here. He missed spring ball, but it doesn't appear to be something that will linger into the summer if this is any indication. And all signs point to him being available for when, again, Florida starts its OTAs in June and then ramps up toward fall camp in fall, barring, you know, any setbacks at this point. But with that in mind, yeah, I think they avoided, I guess, a potential catastrophe if this were to have gone any worse. It truly, for a shoulder injury, a throwing shoulder injury, I can't think of really a better way that this could have worked out for them. When it comes to the backup quarterbacks, yeah, I don't want to say that they have guys that they can hang their hat on and say, okay, we can lose DJ and, like, you know, we'll still be all right. And that's more a testament, I think, to DJ Lagway and how special the quarterback is here. And yeah, again, with the idea that in this day and age of college football, you're really not carrying two quarterbacks who are starting caliber. It just doesn't happen. You used to be able to maybe even get three if you had a quality backup and a promising incoming freshman or rising redshirt freshman. But now that's not the case. Players are leaving after 1 year, or they're even signing elsewhere based on the ability to go and play now. And that's really kind of evening the playing field when it comes to recruiting a quarterback room. That said, they're not throwing out a quarterback that has yet to throw a pass in college and is a walk-on anytime soon. That's just not going to happen. Aiden Warner, I mean, for now, you know, he's on scholarship for one, but also he's got those multiple games of experience, and he wasn't through the spring camp ringer last year. He was able to do that now with first team reps, even with Lagway being sidelined. So he at least comes in with way more knowledge of the system, knowledge of, you know, just how the operation goes on game day compared to, you know, these, like 6-7 months ago at this point, 5 months ago, whatever it may be, when he was really thrown to the wolves. And you pair that with Harrison Bailey too. And I don't necessarily know, again, that he's someone that if DJ goes down, he's going to come in and the ship's going to stay afloat with no issues, but he at least seems capable of managing an offense, maybe not too dissimilarly from the way that Graham Mertz operated the offense. You know, not so much the arm talent that's going to wow you, not so much the mobility that, you know, obviously DJ Lagway and even at times Graham showed in the past, but smart decision maker, will take the easy throws when they're there and stick to the script. And I really think that's what you need. At the end of the day now, most teams understand that if they're going to their backup, that, you know, their CFP hopes probably are not going to stay alive, but if they can win games and can end the year on a good note, it's going to require their quarterback to stick to the script, take what they're given by the defense, and just get the job done. And I think that Florida at least feels as though their backup quarterbacks are capable of doing that.
Right. And one thing I can give Harrison Bailey is the fact that I think he made it very clear, I'm throwing to the hot guy. If he can't, if a guy like Eugene Wilson, Dallas Wilson, J. Michael Sturdivant has a mismatch, I think Harrison Bailey kind of made it clear they're getting the ball. So, you know, sometime, you know, it goes back to, you know, I saw a thing Trent Dilfer talked about when he took over for Tony Banks and that run that the Ravens made. He said, okay, I'm going to be the quarterback, but I'm going to throw to Shannon Sharp every single play. So as long as you're okay with me doing that, and I think Harrison Bailey's going to be the same person. Hey, I'm throwing it to my guys. There, I'm not, I'm dropping back, I'm finding them, and I'm letting it go. So, I think that could be key, to get them through. If the defense is playing well and just to get a few points on the board, should Lagway, go down. But I think it'll be, a lot. I think they'll be okay. As we kind of change on the show a little bit, we're going to engage the listeners a little bit. So Perry Mason said, Loren, you are very hard on Billy. Does that mean you back him now? And I've always backed him. I mean, like I said, I've never called for him to be fired. I never called for a change. I just think, like there were some things that we need to see improve. And I think they've improved. And like I said, he went a long way with me. I got to talk to him at the Final Four. I've been at the Heavener a couple times and just got to spend some time with him. And you just look at the roster, the way it's being constructed, what they're doing. You get to talk to a couple more assistants every now and then. So yeah, I mean, I'm in a positive wait and see mode, and so that's kind of where I am now. And then Robert Turner said, so how many of you who called for Strickland's head have changed your mind considering what has happened with Florida athletics in recent months? Zach and Rob and I'll let you guys. I think I've always been on Strickland. I think because he doesn't call plays. He doesn't tackle. He doesn't block. He doesn't shoot jump shots. His job is to make sure that Florida is in the best position to win it at all levels. And I think he's made some really good hires. I think that the basketball coach hire obviously was a home run. Billy Napier seems to be headed in the right direction. We all know how I feel about Kelly Ray Finley, who I think does a great job. Now, one thing I would say is I think he needs to give her a little bit more help, but that's another show for maybe next winter. But, and I've said that publicly and written about it. But Rob, I mean, when you look at a guy like Scott Strickland and where things are now, I think everybody should be pleased with Strickland.
Well, everything goes around football. If football is doing well, the athletic director is the smartest guy in the room. If football is suffering, everything else suffers. So who do you blame? You blame the athletic director. If you look at it big picture wise, an athletic director is like a fund manager, a hedge fund manager. Okay. You got a whole portfolio of stocks, 21, 23 different teams and coaches that you've got to manage. Okay. And it's you. You've got deputy ADs and people like that around you. But Strickland's background was like a controller. Okay. There's something he does understand is all the minutia of finance. And Florida and other schools did this. They built these big Starship Enterprise $100 million football only complexes just in time for them to not be as needed. But NIL, it's coming together. And I think Scott Strickland's done a good job of tapping into the 500,000 Gator alumni, which is well over 150% more than a lot of the SEC schools have. So they're doing it right. And I also think in talking to coaches like Ellis Johnson's on our morning show sidelines, these guys, they know about Billy Napier. And you talk to smart football people. I think what made me believe in Billy Napier really was when they closed out with 3 of the last 5 games they won. And we all know that if DJ Lagway's not hurt in the Georgia game, could have been a different outcome, but it wasn't. That's just the way it goes. But the only game that they were not in was the Texas game. And what, did he play at all or just barely played in that game?
No, he didn't. I mean, he practiced and dressed.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like,
my point.
So yeah.
Okay. Of the 4 of that 5-game stretch at the end, everybody in the country had logo fever. And I predicted they'd win 2 or 3 of those 5. Of the 4 that DJ played in, the Georgia game, 7 minutes left, it's 20 all. They won the other 3. There's your proof. There's your canary in the coal mine of whether DJ Lagway can play. And factor in, very important, he was playing hurt and beat up. Tough guy. Let me tell you something. if you ain't putting out for that guy in the locker room, I would imagine he's going to get up close and personal and remind you what you're here for. He's a special one. I don't know if he's generational like Tim Tebow, but he's showing all the signs of being an elite player.
Yeah. Zach, Scott Strickland attached to football. Does the goodwill go away if football struggles, or is this just icing on the cake? You got the national title in basketball. Football goes 10-2 or what have you, 9-3, makes the playoff. Is it just? I mean, now Scott Strickland is on Foley.
If football goes
Foley's
9-3, if football goes 9-3, 10-2, makes the college football playoff, then yeah, Scott Strickland is the most popular guy in Gainesville. Like, what a turn of events there over a couple of years. But I mean, in the same vein, if football takes a step back, if football struggles, I think we'll really quickly be reminded as to what this school is, a football school. And I know that people right now are not calling it that, which it's funny. Like my message board says it all the time that this is a basketball school now, and that whatever it may be. But I mean, like that is the harsh reality, right? I mean, and this isn't to say that Scott Strickland wasn't deserving of his criticism earlier in his tenure. There were some poor hires. There were some controversies even that are well documented at this point. But also, a lot of the controversies were figured out. For one, there were moves made to correct those. And now he is coming off of Florida's first men's basketball national title in 20 years, right? And it has restored faith in this basketball program that, quite frankly, just wasn't there since Billy Donovan left. It was kind of stagnant for a while. And you can feel the energy in Gainesville around the basketball team now. It's palpable. And that just speaks to the sports culture that surrounds the school. And the other sports, obviously, unfortunately, don't get as much of the limelight that they deserve. And in fairness to Scott Strickland, a lot of those programs have continued to do very well under his program, if not like taken an upward trajectory under his leadership. So at the end of the day, he deserves a lot of credit for the things that have gone right. But again, to the point that Rob was making too, like, football is the bread and butter in the SEC, man. If they come out and it's a disappointing football season, I think that goodwill is going to be quickly forgotten about. Whereas, again, comparatively, they go and they take that next step, building off of what happened last year. I don't know if Scott Strickland will I don't know if he drinks, for one, but if he does, I don't know if he'll ever have to buy a drink in Gainesville.
Yeah, he was pretty puffy up there in San Antonio for sure. Before we kind of give you guys your parting thoughts, we want to talk about Titan MRI and Imaging. Titan MRI and Imaging is not Titan MRI is now Titan MRI and Imaging. Acquired Titan MRI and Imaging acquired Highfield MRI. Joe Calorio started Highfield MRI in 1997. Now he's back. Titan MRI has 3 locations, 2 in Gainesville with this Park Avenue location, and now at the Millennium Center, and 1 in Lake City, serving all of Columbia County and Valdosta, Georgia. Titan MRI and Imaging now accepts insurance or through their convenient self-pay options. They have MRIs, CT scans, X-rays, ultrasounds, easy scheduling with lots of options, including evenings, large MRI machines for patient comfort, no ERs, no hospitals, and they will be coming soon to Ocala to better serve Marion County and the surrounding area. Titan MRI, it's your choice. And we want to send a shout out to Joe Calorio and his horse Sandman, Marion County trained horse that will be running for the Roses in the Kentucky Derby. So good luck to them as well. So Rob, who you got on the show tomorrow?
Well, we're going to have Coach Ellis Johnson. He's normally on Mondays. He's going to be on tomorrow. We're going to be breaking down these SEC rosters, looking at depth charts. We know how hard that is. Again, Brendan's going to start putting the crawl like on the bottom of the screen, because rosters change. We'll have our intern, Oakley McFerrin, in Auburn. We'll have Dudley Dawson, hogfield.net, talking about Arkansas. And, hey, are they going to take legal action against Madden Iamaliava, who, just like his brother, made a really dumb mistake going to California, where they had a no state income tax at Tennessee, 13.25% state income tax in California. Plus, they're at a crappy program. But we'll also have Vince Ferrara from the Hill up in Knoxville talking about Tennessee and what they're trying to do. And we'll cover all 16 SEC schools. So we like to tell all of them hello on every show. And,
Absolutely.
and it's, you know what, this Gator thing, y'all both are right. Scott Strickland will never buy a drink to his life if the football team matches and gets in the playoffs, because Florida ain't been, Ole Miss, Auburn. What a year we got coming up, man. That's all I can say. And it's so much fun being on here. Happy birthday again, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy birthday, Buddy Martin. And speaking of Arkansas, my man Andy Jean, my boy, is back in the SEC, signed with Arkansas. So he'll be with the Razorbacks along with my guy Justice Boone. Shout out to Justice Boone, super dude, man. Both guys, great guys, and definitely looking forward to. There's his happy birthday, Buddy Martin, and Zach. What are you working on, man? What we're looking for Swamp 247 next week or so?
Let me tell you what, man. I'm going on vacation.
Oh wow! Okay, putting the pen down, huh?
Holy cow!
Yeah, I'm putting it down. I'm putting it down. If only for like 3 days. It's like a mini extended weekend vacation.
Okay,
but I'm ready, man. We had a busy Saturday, obviously, with the draft and just wrapping up from spring ball. Still doing portal stuff with basketball and sprinkling our toes in a little bit with baseball coverage as well. That really is going to do a lot more for us over the next month or so. Now that's where a lot of eyes have moved post spring football and basketball as well. But we'll have it all covered. Graham Hall is going to be doing a lot for me these next couple of days when I move out. But I'll be back and ready for business sometime next week.
Okay. Well, on the Lowdown with Loren Meadows, we talk about everything, man. Travel, all that. So where are you going?
I'm going to Philly. I'm going up to see some family, see some friends, see a concert up there. It'll be a good little stay.
Okay, so Pat's or Geno's?
Jim's.
Okay.
Jim's is my go-to.
Okay,
I like Jim's a lot.
Put the old heads out, bring Jim's in, huh?
Exactly. And I think I had Pat's when I was like a little kid. So I know that I need to go back and do it again. But I went probably 10 years ago and visited and tried Jim's for the first time, and I'd swear that's the first place I go.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for being on, guys. This is the Lowdown with Loren Meadows. We're going to be tackling a lot of sports, pop culture. I think I got the best shoe game in the Gator media, so we're going to talk about some shoes, some sneaks, a little bit of all that, man. But appreciate you guys being on. Rob Brown, Zach Goodall, Swamp 247. Ernest Graham, head coach, Santa Fe High School, Florida Great, and obviously the legend, Buddy Martin. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate you.